Everyone, Tammy here from Central Alberta FASD Network, continuing on with our series, talking with our staff, so you can get to know us a little bit better, what it is we do and how we support. We're talking today with Chris Chabot. She is our Community Outreach and Prevention Worker. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Tammy. Thanks for interviewing me today.
No problem. So Chris is going to tell us a little bit about what it is that she does in her role. So take it away, Chris. That's my first question for you.
Perfect. Well, as the Community Outreach and Prevention Worker for the West Country, and the West Country means that I work in communities west of Red Deer. So that would include Rocky Mountain House, Caroline, the Corridor, as well as the First Nation communities of Sunchild, Otis, and Bighorn. My outreach work allows me to provide support for people impacted by FASD who may need some support and guidance in some areas. And as the prevention conversation facilitator, I'm able to provide opportunities to increase knowledge about FASD, talk about how we can accommodate and support individuals who are impacted and caregivers, and most importantly, how to increase our ability to promote and support alcohol-free births. We all have a role to play in all of these because FASD does affect us all.
That's a great description of your role, Chris. You have quite an extensive knowledge in your role, and I love how you share it with everyone. So our second question is, what do you like the best about your role, or what makes it the most meaningful to you?
Well, every community that I engage with is unique. Each has their own resources and challenges. And so in my work, every day looks different. There's never a dull moment, and there's very rarely any routine. This can make the work challenging, but having said that, I feel very blessed and privileged to be able to work with and build relationships with some of the most resilient and resourceful people I have ever met. I actually enjoy the challenge of coming up with very creative ways working with people to have their needs met.
Okay. What are some ways that you support clients and carers?
Well, just as each community is unique and different, also each person is unique. There's no two people are alike. The only common factor among the people that I work with is that they are indeed impacted by fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. So that means that supports and services can look very different for each person as well. We are never aiming for total dependence or total independence. Usually the goal is interdependence. And so this means that while people may have some challenges in areas where their body and brains have been affected, this can also create barriers in connecting with systems and navigating systems like healthcare, income support, housing, corrections, any other number of systems that they may be faced with. I use the philosophy that was created by a group of people with FASD when they realized that there were policies and supports being created for them without their being consulted or without their being at the table. And so out of this came the Red Shoes Rock campaign. And the theme for this whole movement is actually nothing about us without us. And so it's become somewhat of a mantra to me. I'm not here to tell my clients what to do or to decide for them what is best. I'm here to support them in the way they choose and reach the goals that they want for themselves. Always, of course, with safe health and safety, good boundaries are always involved. But in my experience, the people that I work with only want what we all want, and that is just to be happy, healthy, productive, have a safe place to live, have our healthcare needs met, our basic needs, in a way that feels comfortable with them without judgment and barriers.
And that is such a great outlook to have in your work, the nothing about us without us. So thank you for sharing that one with everyone. So what is one thing you wish people knew more about your role?
Well, I am not just trying to be a thorn in everyone's side. I know that I can sometimes come across as persistent or insistent, but the problem is that so many policies and systems are not created with my clients' capabilities and needs in mind. So in many cases, without good supports, my clients would simply be unable to navigate or follow through with many of the requirements put forth by these systems, and they can easily fall through the cracks. So because FASD is an invisible disability for the majority of people impacted, quite often service providers don't recognize or understand that in some cases people are simply unable to comply or navigate or follow through with some of their requirements for accessing service, and that can create huge barriers. What we do know is that there are many areas of in development that can look different in each individual. So for instance, a person who's 25 biologically may look 25. However, due to processing speeds, sensory issues, any other impacted areas of the brain, they may have the functional living skills of more like an 11 or 12-year-old. And we wouldn't reasonably expect an 11 or 12-year-old to be able to successfully live independently. Sometimes we don't understand this concept, and so sometimes we're judging instead of accommodating.
And it's kind of interesting to note that with that, like you said, it's great that you can do your role to not only support, but even to guide people in supporting those that are impacted by FASD. So it's very important and purposeful work that you do. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit already, but what is the most challenging part of your role in supporting FASD?
So I think the most challenging role is facing that stigma that my clients face on a constant basis. They can be viewed as lazy or less than, unable to remember, unable to reason, not able to maintain employment. And in many cases, this is simply not the case. There's still a lot of people that do not understand FASD as a disability and the importance of accommodation. I see firsthand the human and financial cost of unsupported FASD, and it can be substantial. You know, we seek to fix people rather than, excuse me, rather than accommodate the disability. And it's easy to forget that this is a lifelong disability that requires support across the lifespan. It does not go away. So in some cases, what happens is supports and services are put into place as soon as there's a good routine developed and established. Then some people can look at the person and say, okay, they're doing good now. They don't need us anymore. Those supports are taken away. And that's when a person falls through the cracks. It can be super uncomfortable or awkward sometimes for people in the small communities that I work with as well to reach out for help, because I know even for myself, I don't want to necessarily make myself vulnerable to people that I run into every day. Our children go to school together. We may known each other for many years as friends or acquaintances. So that can be super hard as well for clients. And I also find that people impacted by FASD can be quite intuitive. And so any sign of judgment, discrimination, racism, anything can shout out to them as a message saying, you know, you look fine, what's the problem? You're an adult, why do you need these supports? You don't look like there's anything wrong with you. But again, I can't say it enough, there may be areas of the brain that are affected and are affecting that person's ability to function.
Yeah, your description of the challenges really explains how complex this disability is and how important it is to support those with this disability. So what do you find the most rewarding about your role?
Most rewarding in my role is to be able to walk alongside someone in their journey, to be able to listen, to advocate, to support, to provide encouragement, to be part of that circle of support, that team that is on their side. It's really an honor and a blessing. I feel very privileged to be able to do this work. I see the faith, the hope, the talent, the humor that comes shining through people in spite of living in a world that is not created for them to easily navigate. And this always makes my heart happy. I've learned a lot, so much from the people that I have, that I work with, and they've given me actually more than I could ever hope to give them.
Well, I know that they're probably feeling just the same about you, Chris. So tell us one fun thing about yourself.
Well, I love to talk about the West Country. I've been very blessed to live in the West Country for almost 21 years, and it's a beautiful place to live. And contrary to what we were warned about during our childhood stories, I actually live in a house made of straw bales.
That is so neat. You mentioned that recently, and I never would have thought of that. And I am curious, but I'll have to ask you more about your home later on, just kind of how it's built and how it was structured. But just to wrap up our interview today, if you could just kind of tell me a little bit about what you find the most challenging in dealing with our current situation with COVID-19 and having to work from home. Yeah, what do you find the most challenging or the toughest to deal with?
Well, by far the most challenging thing is the inability to have that face-to-face contact. I am very much missing that. Personal connection is a huge part of this work. And one of the things I always look forward to is getting together with clients just to touch base and connect. The whole world has been thrown into turmoil over these past weeks, and many people are now expressing that how much they're struggling with the world not being the way that they're used to, situations where their wants and needs are not being accommodated the way they like to have them accommodated, which has affected their lives very significantly. And I just want to take this opportunity to point out that this is what life can look and feel like for people impacted by FASD when there's no proper diagnosis, support, and accommodation. On the other hand, one of the positives that I have seen is the service agencies and service and community coming together in creative ways so that we can continue together to provide support and to fill gaps, to accommodate needs. There's even initiatives coming out of this whole pandemic that were not in place before. And so there's really becoming a spotlight on some of the needs that we can maybe fulfill better in the future. I'm really hoping that we will actually come out of this better and stronger than we were before.
Yeah, we have a very resilient community and a very resilient team. And I think it's fortunate that we continue to get to do the great work that we do, that we're blessed to be able to do it. So thank you, Chris, for sharing a little bit about yourself, your role, and a little bit of who you are with everyone. And for those that are watching, we are doing these interviews with all of our staff. You'll see them posted throughout the weeks on our Facebook page, on our website, centralfasd.org, sorry for the confusion, as well as a YouTube channel that we've created just to show these videos. So if you have any questions or anything, you can always call our network, 403-342-7499, extension 1, to gather information, ask questions, and we are happy to support where we can. Thanks, Chris, for joining us.
Thank you, Tammy. Have a great day.